What's going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the Multiverse Xperience Podcast. I am your host, as always, Steven, aka the Economistic on Twitter. So be sure to follow along there. Welcome to episode 2. It's good to be back. I'm pretty darn excited to be back with you today. Lots of things to cover on today's episode, including another awesome conversation that I had with another guest from the Multiverse ecosystem on Twitter, a community member, somebody who was much more engaged in the past, and slowly but surely I think they're going to be making a comeback. We'll get to that in just a moment. First up, just wanted to direct your attention to the Multiverse Xperience Podcast Twitter right in front of you on your screen. So first and foremost, if you missed the first episode of season 2 with your boy Crypto Div, make sure to go over to the YouTube channel and check that out. I got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people really liked what Div had to say. So thank you again, Mr. Div, for being so generous with your time on that previous episode. So without further ado, since we're talking about the previous episode, today we have Serenation. He is a community member for some time now. He was somebody who I spoke a lot with over the interwebs about MEX token and everything whenever that was hot and poppin'. So stick around for sure. But as per usual, we're going to get into a few generic topics today. So firstly, I just wanted to basically say that the xDay 2023 in Bucharest, Romania is pretty much popping off. So we're going to head right over to the MultiversX Twitter account, because that's just going to be a pretty good guide of what's going on. Definitely pop over there and follow along if you are not already following MultiverseX on Twitter. I choose to go over to the media on that upper tab there, as you can see, which will show pretty much all of the main images for the partners as well as the speakers. So as I mentioned, things have been pretty popping off, I would say, with regard to what's been revealed about what's coming in less than 1 month away. xDay is less than 1 month away. So before we continue, just want to show off all my MultiverseX swag. Got my sweatshirt, got my hat from last year, as well as the classic MultiverseX mug full of coffee. So come on now, get some caffeine going. Oh yeah, that was a big gulp. If you're watching, if you're liking what you're seeing, please drop a like and a comment. I want to keep on pumping out episodes for all of you. So I've got a handful of different guests in the lineup, and slowly but surely I'm working on coordinating all of those things. So if you are a content creator, and not even just for the Multiverse X ecosystem, if you are watching this and you're just about crypto, you're interested in blockchain, you have something to add to the conversation, go ahead and send me a DM on Twitter, because I don't want to create a Multiverse X exclusive podcast. The idea of the Multiverse Xperience is, as the multiverse kind of implies, this idea of the metaverse and Web3, but also combining with the reality of our worlds, our financial worlds, our personal relationships, and so forth. So there are a lot of different conversations that I want to bring about for this season and seasons beyond. But on top of that, not only if you have a project, an NFT, some Web3 startup that you are about, send me a DM. I would love to interview you and put you on the stage for everybody to learn about your project and for others to learn about what exactly is going on in the Multiverse X ecosystem. Because myself, even though I'm not a computer scientist, I've read a lot about how easy it is to build on Multiverse X. And with that being said, I'm actually going to pop over to YouTube, because that reminded me of something that I recently saw on Twitter, and this is going to be very useful for you if you are in fact a builder of any sort. Or if you're just somebody who has interest in learning more about how to build, how to write smart contracts, all that sort of stuff. So head over to MultiversX Official on YouTube, and there you will find that they have just released a brand new playlist. It's full of all sorts of different high-level topics for you to learn. So these are the technical sessions within the playlist. And if you kind of go over here, you see a microservices workshop and Multiverse X. Let's go ahead and mute that a little bit. But yeah, on the side here, you can see that these technical sessions were just uploaded about a day ago. And there's so much on this playlist to learn from X Suite, built by Arda, build, test, deploy Multiverse X contracts in no time at all, Blast API tutorial, interact with Multiverse X blockchain using MXPY. There's another one that I watched a little bit about, introduction to ESDTs on Multiverse X. So I think that this is going to be something that I dive into and perhaps even cover in a future episode of the Multiverse Xperience Podcast, because like I mentioned, I don't have computer scientist. I'm not a computer scientist. I don't have computer science in my field of study, but I think that creating something based on computer code is extremely cool, and especially creator royalties on the Multiverse X blockchain will reward you with 30% of the transaction fees in EGLD. So there is really high incentive to build on Multiverse X. Whenever you build, not only do you get to provide a service to new people, which makes Multiverse X look better and become more profitable, of course. Not profitable, but usable. But on top of that, you have the ability to make your own money through taking a little bit of those fees. I am now directing your attention. Something else that came to mind, caught my attention over the past week, was new farms on xExchange. So xExchange is the automatic market maker, the DeFi, the decentralized exchange experience that was built by the team at Multiverse X. So if you've been a part of the Multiverse X ecosystem for a little bit now, you may have remembered this as the Myar Exchange. But rewinding almost a year ago, as we know, Elrond Network, previously Elrond Network, basically just rebranded from top to bottom, and the Myar Exchange was renamed as xExchange, as you can see here. We've got a lot of new farms, as well as new XMEX rewards, which XMEX is the DEX token of xExchange, and the more XMEX you have, you will have increased governance as well as more and more benefits. So as you can see here, Cyber, Kilowatt are pumping the most APR at 16.5 and about 16. So I just want to note here real quickly that, of course, these APRs will be diluted. The more people are depositing their liquidity provider tokens into the farms, there's only so much MEX allotted to reward the liquidity providers. The more money that gets put into these liquidity pools, the lower that expected base APR is going to be. So that's something to keep in mind. Those APRs can be enticing, but eventually you might find they are not really rewarding you as much as you were hoping. So that's something to keep on the top of your mind. In other news, the hackathon is continuing to go on as planned, and I've heard a lot of buzz about that on Twitter Spaces and just Twitter posts. My home is kind of on Twitter. I don't so much get into Discord or Telegram, even though I'm sure that a lot of people are very excited about the hackathon as well. I just wanted to go over to xday.com/hackathon and just kind of show this to you, because if you haven't discovered it, you should check it out. Of course, this is all leading to the kind of finale, I'll call it, which will take place in person at xDay. So this was pretty cool. There's 2 journeys, 6 tracks, and if you kind of scroll down here, you can see that there is this future of technology path, which dives into artificial intelligence, DeFi, infrastructure and dev tooling, as well as payments, mobile apps. So that was the future of technology journey, as they're calling it. And the second one is gaming and the metaverse. So turn your vision into immersive experiences. Gaming and the metaverse, as you can see here, is going to be that side of the hackathon. Up to $1 million in prizes and funding, and a 24-hour thrilling in-person finale at xDay 2023. Everybody has time, 30 days, to build something great, as they say on the website. And I've seen a lot of my friends within the ecosystem stand up, put together teams, and that's really exciting to see. And beyond this, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. You can see the jury for the hackathon, of course, including names like Benjamin, the CEO, Lucian, one of the other co-founders. Robert Sasu here is more and more these days. He is on Twitter, and he's been in some Twitter spaces talking about high technicalities with the Multiverse X blockchain. In the last Multiverse Experience episode, I directed your attention to Robert's discussion with a founder of Radix. So again, make sure to check out that last episode on the season 2 of the Multiverse Xperience Podcast. Had a lot of fun on that first episode. But if you keep on scrolling down here, you can see something which I think a lot of people have been very excited about, and that is all of the partners and the supporters, as it says here, associated with this hackathon. So I don't know, it's a bit of speculation as always. We see a big name with somebody, like MultiversX, and it's easy to get excited. But I think that there is a lot to be said about that. Amazon Web Services is here, along with Google Cloud and a few others. And Tencent Cloud, of course, we've known about that partnership with MultiversX for a while now. And in just a little bit, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the agenda, which was released for xDay 2023 in Bucharest. And we're going to see a lot more about what to expect according to that agenda. Quite a lot. I've got 14 different things that I kind of checked out, and we'll be sharing about momentarily. But the hackathon is a really incredible opportunity to get involved and create some buzz about what and how to build on Multiverse X. So that's something that is a bit above my pay grade, but good luck to all of the people out there that are participating, that are competing in the hackathon, because that's going on right now and generating a lot of excitement on the in the ecosystem. I just want to scroll through just a little bit and just share with you about the agenda that was released. The xday.com, or rather the xDay agenda, has been released as of this past week or so, and it's really exciting to see this agenda. I mean, not only is it exciting to see everything that's going to be covered in the agenda, but also if you were around last year, then you know that the agenda for last year's xDay was more or less not even relevant. It wasn't even released until I think the week of xDay 2022. So the fact that we're a month away and we have the agenda already, as well as, like I mentioned, the Multiverse X Twitter account has just been absolutely popping off. Like every morning, like this morning I woke up, and then of course I'm preparing to shoot for this episode, and it's like, all right, dang, like we've got a lot more people coming in. So Dorian from KuCoin, European business development lead at KuCoin, will be on the xDay stage. I mentioned Robert Sasu already, core developer at Multiverse X. He's going to be talking about a better financial system. And I tell you what, we could literally continue to scroll down. Another individual from Copper HQ joining for the xDay partners and or speakers. And like I said, this just goes and goes. Neil Nguyen from AshSwap. Shout out to Neil and what they're doing at AshSwap. He will be on the stage, as well as AshSwap itself is an xDay 2023 partner. Another head of engineering, Adrian. Met him at Austin Consensus, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, clearly the MultiversX team is getting their organization together this year around. There was a lot of what I think was a bit unnecessary criticism from last year. But of course, I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to MultiversX. As Crypto Div shared with everybody on the podcast last week, there's really no difference. It should, whenever we buy crypto, we really need to understand that we are investing in tech startups. So tech startups, they're naturally going to have high volatility, and they're going to take years. Most likely, they're going to take years to kind of become profitable. So that definitely informs my personal stance on how I invest in cryptocurrency, how I've invested in cryptocurrency since the start. So if you want to hear more about my philosophy as well as my market outlook, go ahead and wait until after the discussion that I have with Serenation. I'm going to go ahead and push off any market discussion until after those guest appearances. So make sure to stick around until after the conversation I have with Serenation to get a little bit into my head, hear about what things I'm keeping my eye on. Because I think that is fun to do. And if you can catch a big winner, then more power to you. So beyond the MultiversX revealing their agenda, which again we'll get more into in just a moment, I wanted to direct your attention to what MultiversX is doing as a part of kind of their HypergrowthX campaign. So as you can see on the screen in front of you again, they are giving out prizes according to content creators that are making threads, making videos, and so forth, all about certain topics. So that was on September 22nd. And that has already been announced. The winners have. So the next video, rather, they are asking for a video, but the next competition, we'll call it, is all about the agenda that was released. So they're asking everybody to make a 30-second long video, roughly, something viral, something informative. What are you most excited that will be discussed at xDay? And they're going to be rewarding all of the creators. As you can see here, all of the creators, first place 20 EGLD, second place 15, third 10, and then fourth through sixth place will be getting 5 EGLD. I'm not sure if that is a split or if that's a total amount that will be shared among the fourth through sixth place winners. But beyond this, something else that caught my attention within the ecosystem was something small, but if you caught the video last week, then again, you were able to see about the gift cards that is coming on, or that are already available on the X Portal app. So as my computer loads here, so this is a pretty interesting initiative. I speculated with Crypto Div in the episode last week about the idea of how do we onboard people, how do we make it as seamless as possible, and there always stands the chance for kind of getting yourself into trouble, and you can elect to ask for permission, or you can ask for forgiveness. The reason I say that is just the idea, the potential of onboarding people using gift cards. So very simply, we'll be able to send EGLD in the form of a gift card to our friends, family, or of course strangers, and immediately they'll be able to redeem that on their X Portal app for EGLD. So normally, of course, in order to get EGLD on your Multiverse wallet, you're going to have to go through an exchange, a centralized exchange, a decentralized exchange. You might have to go through KYC, all these little hoops to jump through. But as I spoke with Crypto Div last week, it's like we need something seamless. And you'll hear me talk about the same idea with Serenation on this episode. Just the idea of it needs to be seamless. It needs to be simple. There needs to be one thing, one kind of pull that is really just bringing us in and making it simple to get EGLD into our accounts so that we can begin executing contracts, buying NFTs, buying tokens, all that good stuff. The main topic really that I wanted to dive into is the agenda that was just released, just announced at xday.com/agenda. xDay is an annual event organized by the MultiversX team. Began last year in Paris when Elrond Network made its transition to MultiverseX. So last year, Benjamin talks about how the idea was just to showcase the spirit driving innovation in the blockchain space. And he's talked about it in this, when he's referring to this coming xDay as well. It's going to serve, these xDays are going to serve as meeting points for the blockchain community, builders, and technology enthusiasts. Kind of bringing in lots of different people, lots of different perspectives into a room that, potentially wouldn't have found themselves together in the first place. So the first edition in Paris had a significant impact and fostered a lot of collaboration and showcased the network's capabilities. So now, xDay 2023, it's going to be different. So not only is it taking place in the iconic Palace of Parliament in Bucharest, so this event is also going to unveil new innovations, strategic partners, and products. So it's going to feature keynote sessions, panel discussions, and networking opportunities for participants, including government officials, venture capitalists, and industry leaders, and of course, us content creators. We have quite a lot going on. Beginning Thursday, October 19th, the doors will open. And I tell you what, I was at xDay last year, and I was even though I wanted there to be, throughout the entire 3-day conference, I wanted there to be a lot of new announcements kind of sprinkled in between. My interpretation, my how do I say it, how I understood in hindsight xDay last year, it seems like a lot of like the major announcements and things were really front loaded. So I'm still laughing at the xDay last year because as soon as we kind of got there, there was so much excitement in the air, and they had not yet announced the rebrand, right? So there was a lot of curiosity surrounding what in the world, what's going on here, what is xDay, what is this, and so I was a little bit sleep deprived being from the Americas, flying into Paris, France. And I was sitting there with some friends as Benjamin unveiled Multiverse to the power of X, and it didn't really hit me initially. I was just confused. I'm not sure if I was just thinking of something else, if I was sleep deprived, or exactly what was going on. But the keynote from Benjamin was really the first time that Multiverse X was unveiled. And at that point, we had follow-up conversations and panels, keynotes rather, from Lucien Todea, and that's where he kind of unveiled the new XMEX token, as well as the energy system, and then of course the whole xExchange change from Myar Exchange. I think there are several topics here that are going to be covered at xDay, and I'm very much looking forward to what Benjamin is going to share about. So other things, let's just kind of dive into it. The first thing on my list that one can expect from xDay 2023, discussions about blockchain technology and protocols. It states on the agenda, pretty much straight out of the gate, that the discussions around blockchain protocols, sovereign chains or sovereign shards, which we expect will come with xFabric, and development tools. So expecting discussions on how these technologies are being used in ecosystem projects and by builders to create innovative solutions. So definitely expecting discussions about blockchain technology and protocols. And then of course, the Multiverse X protocol itself. So last year we had lots of really in-depth discussions from some of those devs about really the architecture of Multiverse X, the virtual machine, smart contracts, and their role in reshaping the financial system. So those are definitely going to be present at xDay as well. Those higher level, those deeper concepts that really speak to computer scientists and people who are building smart contracts and trying to really offer really valuable tools and systems to kind of build on top of one another. So something that I'm very much looking forward to is definitely the discussions about DeFi and liquidity protocols. Excuse me. So of course this is going to likely include conversations all about automatic market makers, perhaps different algorithms of deciding prices, such as AMM. So beyond that, we know, as we've heard in some of the Twitter live spaces, that we are to expect a new version of xExchange. That is something that was shared with me. Not personally, but I heard it at a Twitter space. So this is something that is definitely going to be integral. So yeah, definitely looking forward to what the DeFi and liquidity discussions will be. Hoping to hear a lot from the CEOs and co-founders and such from Hatem, AshSwap, and other decentralized protocols. Which reminds me of another thing that has come up over the past couple weeks, and that is Agora, which is all about governance on xExchange. So for those XMEX holders with governance and so forth, this will apply to you. So what is Agora? Agora is the new forum designed to foster collaboration and decision-making within the Multiverse X ecosystem. So Agora will play a pivotal role in shaping the future of xExchange through community-driven governance. So basically, Agora, right now, I don't believe there is open governance. There aren't any open votes or anything like that going on. But Agora is going to be the gateway of proposing and discussing improvements for xExchange. It's where ideas can be discussed about, and you can contribute directly to the development and trajectory of xExchange itself. So as per usual, very simple to connect to Agora using your wallet. But here's the thing, is that you must have at least 5 billion energy, which is the Faraday League. So you must have enough energy in order to have any degree of say on Agora. Share your ideas on Agora, turn your ideas into an xEIP draft. So that's kind of cool. Each of these will become drafts before they go on chain for voting. So it looks as though as well that the first xEIP draft, the strategic fund, has been drafted. And it says it's all about the strategic fund, initially funded with 1.1 million in XMEX. So they say that the community will decide how the fund should be used, including hackathon prizes, testing rewards, protocol support, and more. So I think that this is exciting to see, although it points back to the question in the conversation about governance. How much energy will you need to have in order to actually make a difference on the xExchange with regard to these new decisions, or rather the propositions, we'll call them? It's probably going to be the people with the most energy are going to have the most say, and therefore they're going to have the direction of xExchange. But to me, like that is definitely expected. The way to get the way to get energy on xExchange was by providing liquidity to the DEX. So if you provided the liquidity up front, then I believe that it makes sense that you have a bigger say, a bigger piece of that governance vote. And I'm excited to see how Agora grows. I am excited about the idea of actually bringing in some utility and benefit to the XMEX token, of course. But I'm personally thinking about different ways, different propositions that I can add to Agora in order to, hopefully contribute someday to a draft. I know that I've had personal ideas about back in April, whenever the MEX to $1 trend kind of popped off in the community, this idea of how do we confirm that people are kind of on board with the whole XMEX energy thing, and specifically in the scheme of like MEX to $1, which is just a bit of a joke, since MEX going to $1 would be just a ridiculous amount of appreciation for that asset. But the idea that a lot of people, as myself, really enjoyed about XMEX is that you can't really rug the community. So with like Doge or Shiba or Pepe, some of these meme coins that just popped off, there runs the massive risk, of course, of a pump and dump. People buy it up front load, and then they start to talk about it, price pumps, and then they dump. I don't have to explain a pump and dump. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully, you know what a pump and dump is, so that you can make sure to avoid them. So XMEX is, of course, based on the MEX token. So the idea of MEX going to $1, I do believe it's something that I genuinely believe this. I believe that the whole energy concept, the whole energy paradigm with governance benefits and what else they build into that side of xExchange, I really genuinely believe that has the potential to become very powerful, to really catch on in such a way that meme coins do. And specifically, I like the idea of the energy because, of course, it means that your funds are locked, and in order to remove that energy, you have to remove 80% of its value. So something that I'll probably put on Agora at some point is hopefully proposing some way to confirm people's energy lock. Confirm, if they're shilling XMEX, is there an on-chain way to verify that they are locked for 4 years, rather than they just have a massive bag of MEX token that they're just going to dump as soon as the price pumps. So something that kind of locks people in, and something that we're able to kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit sketchy, just because it would mean that some people's privacy and wallet addresses could be not compromised, but publicized, and that's not something that everybody wants. That's not even something that I particularly want. So maybe if there was just like some way to create individual, almost like avatars, every time you renew your energy, something like that confirms to your community that, yes, I'm locked in, I'm here for the long term. And here's the deal, is that the 4-year commitment to XMEX energy is much more, of course, than the 10-day unbonding period for regularly staking EGLD. So I don't know. In my opinion, I still stand by the idea that those that are holding the XMEX energy are the most devoted, the most long-term community members of MultiversX. So even though EGLD runs the network, and we rely heavily, wholeheartedly on its validators, I don't know. I still feel like, given the sacrifice that XMEX holders are kind of willing to lock for 4 years, I really think that needs to be, met. I think that we really need to get those kind of rewards and incentive to continue to increase and hopefully buy more MEX, so that the demand can increase. But also too, so that people can start to pay attention to MEX. Just the nature of markets. Sometimes we need to see the price go up before we really dive into and invest in something. So that is the Agora forum that we just kind of discussed there. And like I said, looking forward to the different proposals that people bring about there. And that's what excites me still, is the idea that it's community owned and it's very fluid. xExchange can add new benefits, add new perks kind of to incentivize people, and it's community owned. So we kind of have a say in where that boat is being directed. So lots of other things I could talk about the agenda, but I wanted to point out that Sebastian Berduja is having a keynote on the carbon negative blockchain's role. So that suggests a focus on blockchain sustainability and environmental impact. Sebastian Berduja was present in the last xDay as well. as a keynote speaker. So it's nice to see that he's going to be back and talking about the sustainability, environmental impact of blockchains. So beyond this, the final topic that I'm really looking forward to at xDay 2023 is, of course, I'm curious about the strategic partnerships that MultiversX is forging, but specifically, as we saw with the hackathon, we have a lot of big names that are kind of getting involved. So whether it be Google, Telecom, Tencent Cloud, as well as AWS, are these people, are these companies, are they integrating MultiverseX into their own protocols, their own products and operations, or is this just something that they're paying attention to? So I'm really looking forward to just the conversations that will bring about, just because those tend to be the things that people like the most. These big discussions with big key leaders in the world, such as Amazon, such as Google, and also, of course, Tencent Cloud. So I'm thinking that we might get some pretty sizable announcements. But again, whenever Benjamin had his town hall, he seemed as though that we should not be hyper focused on the announcements themselves, rather what they're kind of forming and building to. Chapter 2 of the agenda discusses xFabric, which is something that was announced last year. xFabric sounds like it's going to be something that is going to basically allow corporations, anybody to deploy a sovereign shard on the blockchain. So xFabric, like I said, has been around for about a year, and we haven't really seen much about it. So very much looking forward to what is going to come with the discussion surrounding xFabric. So beyond this, I want to point your attention as well to this discussion on xExchange version 3. Excuse me. Because xExchange version 3 is going to be hopefully a big upgrade, and of course, fingers crossed for XMEX holders that we're going to see some more utility in the XMEX token. So a lot to be discussed here, really, and this is going to be a 3-day event, like we said, and it's going to be just absolutely full of different discussions and key leaders both within crypto, outside of crypto. Recently, I can't remember it's not Scott Melker, I forgot their name. It's another big name in the blockchain kind of space on Twitter. Let's see if I can find it on their Twitter page itself. Without further ado, I think it's about time that we get in that conversation with Serenation. I've been talking for a long time here, and just kind of covering some high-level things on MultiversX. So if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see in future episodes, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know what you want to see. Still kind of working over the flow of the introduction before we get into those conversations. So thanks for bearing with me. Drop a like, drop a comment as per usual. Support the channel. And this is what I was talking about here. So Anthony Pompliano, he's a popular influencer, I guess you would generically refer to him as, within the Web3 ecosystem, I would say, on X or on Twitter. So kind of cool to see some bigger names there. Wondering if EGLD and MultiversX are finally going to get its time in the spotlight. But until then, we will continue to be pumping out episodes, getting more guests on the show. That's about all I've got for you in terms of high-level news in the MultiverseX ecosystem. So be sure to drop a comment, like the video, subscribe if you like the content. Working hard to get episodes out on a regular basis, so make sure to support the channel as you have. Very thankful for that. So without further ado, I want to welcome in the conversation I had with Serenation, all about the multiverse as well as MultiversX, blockchain, cross-chain, all that good stuff. So again, make sure to stay tuned until after that conversation to check in on the market with me, as well as a little goodbye message. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate you, and I'll catch you in just a moment. All right, everybody. Welcome to another guest appearance of the Multiverse Xperience Podcast. Today, I'm really excited to be with, for the first time myself, we have Serenation here joining us. And yes, Serenation, you and I have been, I guess, acquainted for a while now. I meant to go back and see what our first DMs or Twitter interactions were. But yeah, Serenation has been in the world of crypto since October 2018. And yeah, also, it sounds like you've had a knack for computer tech since you were a kid. So I'm sure that's definitely informed your interest in to blockchain, crypto, decentralization, all that good stuff. And also, I'm curious, we might talk about it now or later. But your name being Serenation, it sounds like I think you're a musician as well. So multifaceted individual that I'm excited to bring everybody today. So Serenation, welcome to the Multiverse Xperience Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to having something like this happen. I've been very busy lately, so for me to make time for this, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's funny how the psychology of bull versus bear markets kind of takes shape because yeah, it's a shot in the dark, but maybe you would have a little bit more time to invest into crypto and everything like this. Maybe if there's still
Mhm.
that dopamine and euphoria of the bull market and kind of bringing us all back into the whether it be Twitter or I don't know what other sort of if you're on Telegram, Discord, all those things during the bull market or what sort of stuff you get into.
Telegram was a little too involved for me.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just sucks up too much time trying to read everything.
yeah, yeah. So, how about you give the audience a bit of an introduction yourself? I said just a little bit there about you, but yeah, what can you tell us about yourself? And since this is the first time you and I have really had a conversation like this, yeah, it'd be nice to get to know you a little bit better myself.
Yeah, so I've always had an intuitive sense around computer technology. Like you said, from a young age, um, it started with my grandfather, who was an engineer. Decades ago. He's passed away now, but
Mhm.
I remember when I was just 5 years old, and he just brought this. Laptops were very new back then. This was like mid '90s, and he brought like a laptop that was like computer 90, Windows 95.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've been involved with computers ever since that. Since you've had the typical interface of you know mouse and clicking icons and all that, but just because I was exposed to that from a young age, I'm just um, finding my way in and out of computers, understanding and troubleshooting issues has always been something that wasn't very hard for me.
mm,
So getting into blockchain, um, it wasn't too hard for me to grasp what was going on, especially since when you're managing a wallet or whatever, uh, understanding file types and how everything fits,
yeah.
like like a puzzle. It wasn't too complicated for me since I've grown up doing all this kind of stuff. So
Yeah. And what about the name Serenation? Where does that come from?
yeah, so originally I it had nothing to do with crypto. It This was even before I was getting involved online regarding crypto, but I set up these two screen names for a channel and whatnot that I never really got into right off the bat. I do play guitar, and you
Hmm.
probably noticed I use the emojis.
Hmm.
And um, uh, in my college phase, I was very obsessed with recording, and but I was very obsessive about getting the right sound. The sounds had to be right. It had to come out right. If it wasn't, if the recording wasn't coming out as I wanted to, I just never really put it out.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just so obsessive about getting the right quality and getting it just right the way I want it. And and yeah, so it never really came up to the quality that I wanted.
That's cool though, because I'm a musician myself. You were recording your guitar and you were making music, and it just was never satisfying to you, the audio that you were able to capture, or what kind of was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, and it was really just me working on it. I always wished I had someone to work with on this that I can learn how to get the quality where I wanted it. too, but I don't really have many musician friends, or
Yeah,
if any. And all of my friends are not very music inclined. So guitar is something I do. I play like every other day, and
nice.
I enjoy it. But um, I don't really want to put something out subpar. Like I need
For
it to
sure.
me. It just needs to be right. And yeah. And so with just getting involved with crypto, and that was my screen name. It just carried on with that. And so yeah.
Nice. That's great to hear. I mean, having different hobbies. I mean, obviously, like music and playing guitar is a hobby, but it's very like it's definitely a practice. Not to say that hobbies are not practices, but yeah, I mean that I think that I've witnessed the most about how humans like learn and process and the time it takes for basically something learned to actually come in and you start to see results. I feel like I've witnessed that the most through music. Um,
Yeah.
so, are you still doing music to this day, other than just practicing every couple days or so? Are you still interested in finding other community that is into music?
Yes. I mean, today I don't really have that much time with that. I'm involved in an incredible opportunity right now that's sucking up my time over these next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's also why I've disappeared on crypto, disappeared on Twitter lately, and haven't kept up with crypto as much. But in my opinion, there's not too much to see at the moment with this kind of market.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great segue. Definitely curious, just, what sort of things you have been looking at. And obviously, you just said that you haven't really been looking at. So maybe not so much on the track of where the market is and conversation of bull versus bear. Obviously, that's always a bit of a guess. But kind of, pointing back to those early days of if you want to involve as a kid, whenever you were getting interested in computers and tinkering around with them. Basically, yeah, give us kind of like the idea what led you to crypto, being more serious about it, investing in it. Yeah, what is your broad crypto perspective at this point?
Well, like you, I think we're around the same age, and we had extra money on our hands, and so just being proactive in our lives, we want to get ahead,
Mm-hmm.
and crypto was uh, an appealing investment area for us, especially since we're aware of how this technology works and other people don't. You want to
Yeah,
the key to investing is to get ahead of the curve before other people do. And that's how you'll capture that value when people are coming in after you,
yeah,
after you come in. So that's what intrigued me. That's why I started my interest in crypto in the middle of the last bear market. That was basically the thick of the last bear market, October 2018.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so actually, the first coin I bought was Bitcoin Cash, not
Nice.
actually Bitcoin, because I was seeing that. I noticed when it first came out that there was this huge interest in that actual fork. I didn't understand what a fork was at the time or what it was, but um, uh, crypto was splitting in so many different directions,
Yeah,
and just getting my feet wet was to just buy something and figure out how it works. So uh, I didn't really interact with wallets until 2020, when everyone had time on their hands.
yeah, right.
but yeah, but I was buying, and I was a bit active ever since that last bear market, and um, man, I wish I found Multiverse X back then. I didn't know at the time. Like I said, so many directions. Um, that's one of the problems right now too. I mean, for newcomers coming into the space, there's so many different directions they can go. Like their attention can only be confined into one area.
Yeah,
Um, uh, that's why you see so many different opinions. People want to get in early in something. Some people think it's Solana. Some people think it's Ethereum. Some people think it's it's Multiverse X, you know, and then this is how this tribalism kind of settles in too.
No, yeah, most definitely.
This whole bear market right now has even got me to think about how the average person is really going to get involved in this. I know that everyone's saying that this is going to be a multi-chain future, but part of why I think that might not be the case is because people don't want to complicate their lives. They want to have only one place where they manage their stuff.
Yeah.
The whole interchain operability right now with bridges is too complicated, and the average person's just not going to deal with that. They're not going to tolerate it. It's not something that they're ever going to want to think about. They just want to be on their phone and boom, boom, done. And that's what MultiversX does excellent. That's why I've been involved in this community ever since I've known about it and even got my hands around using the technology. So from there, it's a lot more I could say.
Yeah, no, that's a great response. I have some questions that kind of bubbled up. I think once we get later on into the conversation, more specifically, in terms of me asking questions, I'll ask more like Mex questions because I know we were all there. You and me were there at the beginning of my Dex launch. Definitely curious to hear about that. But kind of rewinding just a little bit, you said that you first invested into Bitcoin Cash. So I'm understanding from what you've said that maybe you did acknowledge the technology, but it sounds like you got into it to try to make some money out of the money that you had. Is that accurate? And if there was a piece of it that you were interested in the tech, what was that?
Yeah, that was the initial attraction, to get the to make something, like as a value investor. You know, I saw it was so depressed at the time, and I was just like, this has to have at least a double or something. And I bought it not knowing what it was, and then having a little bit of money in it encouraged me to actually look into how it worked. And but it wasn't really till later I started learning about wallets. That was when, after COVID happened, and everyone's sitting at home, and you know, I buy a hardware wallet. I'm like, all right, how does this thing work?
Yeah.
And most people would give up, I think, but it was the first week or two I was completely stumped, like absolutely lost as to what was going on. And then it just clicked, and then I was like, wait, so if this works like that, then like, well, I'm looking at a different chain at the same time, and I'm like, I can get this chain working here. Just getting around it was it was just a light bulb for me. And then, for most people, I understand they're not going to get that light bulb the way it is. You know, so if you want something, what do you do? Like, like, there's a certain product you want. What do you do when you want something? You go on Amazon, right? You order it online because it's the most convenient way to get it to you. Or the first thing that comes in your mind is the store that you've always come to, because you know exactly where that item is that you want.
Yeah, try before you buy it. Try it at Best Buy before you buy it at Amazon or something like that.
Something like that. But what your mind does is you try to look for the most convenient way to get that item. Some people don't care, and they'll pay a little more for that convenience. And it's the same mindset when people are trying to get involved in this space. They just want the easiest way to get done what they want to get done.
Yeah.
And going into this bear market, seeing the where value is being held, like you see how Bitcoin is being all pent up with this value, and all the altcoins are suffering. Well, it's because with crypto right now, the door into crypto, it has always been you buy Bitcoin and you transfer the value of your Bitcoin for whatever else by transferring it through a protocol or
Yeah.
through an intermediary. That is the revolving door of the in and out flow of money. So, for Multiverse X, I was so excited when the team announced that they were buying a bank and had this bank involved. I thought that they were going to incorporate this to create their own new door. The problem, I don't see them doing that right now. I mean, they're doing they're trying to put out these cards, but I think the focus really needs to be to create this door, like how people are um, going to put their money into the blockchain. So there's so much value that's not there in the blockchain because it's been sucked out, it's been siphoned out. People want to transfer back to Bitcoin or sell or whatever the case out of fear or this belief that it's this bear market. Now, we have these cycles because partially because you have this belief that there is a cycle, and also partially because there's this belief that there's no store of value outside of Bitcoin. But that changes once the mindset of everyone changes.
Right. Yeah.
But to change that mindset, we have to change the door. Because whenever someone wants to get involved in crypto, they're going to a centralized exchange, they're buying Bitcoin, and most of the time they just leave it in Bitcoin because they're told to. And but we need a way for people to discover this blockchain, Multiverse X, without that door. It needs to be a different door.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
And
curious what ideas do you think that will be? Because obviously we might talk about it. The xDay 2022 last year, they switched from Elrond Network to Multiverse to the power of X, and they talked about this X worlds, which will be, it's a question mark at this point. And then I don't know if you caught the town hall from Benjamin a couple weeks back, and I mean, the team, I've also seen them in person at Consensus in Austin, and then I did see them at xDay as well. But they're very much, I'll say Benjamin is very much on this track of, it only takes one killer application to change the minds. And even though I think X Portal is great, I will say that Myar, the original Myar smartphone application, there was something about it that seemed a little bit more all in one. It seems like X Portal is trying to be a lot, being a super app. But in terms of the scope of Multiverse X and in what you're talking about, the doors that are open and how people will actually get into and adopt, and the idea of having a bank, it's like, do you think, Serenation, that door will be the financial route or the gaming route? Do you think it will be NFTs? Like, and then there's that big overarching question of, well, shoot, like if we can't really like pin or guess kind of which one it will be, it's like, well, they're already, as I just said, there are multiple different facets that you never know what could be the one first domino that starts just tipping over all of them. And people want to go through the door literally not because they're like us in 2018. Oh, I have some extra money, I see the value of this, I want to get in early. People are investing only because they see it as an access of like, oh, a PlayStation or an Xbox, and it puts me into this world where I can, create community and play. Like, so yeah, I'm curious to pick your brain on. I agree with you on the door needs to be opened, but what do you think that door will be? I mean, it's very speculative, the nature of the question, but what do you think?
Well, by door, I mean entryway into the space. Like the team right now has done an excellent job building. Well, the blockchain is basically set as it needs to be, and there are all these decentralized apps being built and expanded upon, and they're very seamless to use on the blockchain. But by door, I mean I'm talking about the flow of money into this.
So
So people
strictly
are
the
not
exchanging.
people are
Okay.
not interested to use the tools on the blockchain right now because they don't they see it as a value trap.
Right.
because
Yeah.
of a bear market. So that's why people are not. That's why on-chain activity is so low. So you do need money to come in. So how's that money going to come in? All the money's flowing into Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
Bitcoin, you can't do anything. All it is just a peer-to-peer uh, transaction of value, and that's all it is. Uh, it's not a smart contract chain where there could be different types of value transfers.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm curious. You mentioned already the idea that some people believe there is no true store of value outside of Bitcoin. So going back to the comment that you made yourself, what are your ideas? You just mentioned that the only kind of utility is the peer-to-peer transaction, but then of course that brings into the question, the digitized gold and the limited supply. So kind of what are your thoughts on the tokenomics of Bitcoin and in this world of traditional fiat currency? And yeah, what do you think about the store of value idea of Bitcoin?
Well, that's the only thing that Bitcoin does well. Just having that finite supply. If that ever changes, I mean, Bitcoin is no different than any other crypto, except the fact that it's harder to transfer. It's not as easy to transfer as eGold or even Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
Bitcoin Cash is excellent as a means of value transfer. The main problem is that because people believe it's not a store of value, it doesn't hold value. So people need to believe it in order for it to become a store of value. And
Yeah.
so the question is, how do you get that for eGold? Like I said, you need to create that door where when the money flows in. It's not going to work if the door right now is people buying Bitcoin and transferring their Bitcoin to eGold, because the door is Bitcoin and then eGold, and people aren't going to think like that because um, so
Well, it's almost like they're seeing these altcoins as means of generating more Bitcoin. And depending your views on fiat currency, it's they're also just trying to multiply their fiat currency. So I definitely see what you mean. The idea of retaining that value. You mentioned value trap, and I definitely see how that's a negative thing, especially in the context of this bear market. And again, we're on the broad crypto perspective and already getting into Multiverse X, so I love that. So I'm curious. I mean, even though it's been difficult for the bear market, I mean, what do you think about the new XMEX energy concept? Because I mean, that kind of does that not speak at least a little bit more to what you're saying? Not to say that it's easy to advise or recommend, yeah, you should lock up your money for 4 years and basically make it this perpetual indefinite investment. But the idea of something like that catching on, people therefore they wouldn't transfer it back to Bitcoin. It would be not to just beat the team's ideas, but the idea of a storage of wealth, of total value
Mhm.
locked.
Well, the XMAX only works if it eventually becomes a store of value. And that's the dilemma that we have. So, uh, like I said, for store of value belief to even happen on Multiverse X, we need to create this door. And I know people are like, well, what's this door? What's this door? Um, Essentially, you want people to buy eGold instead of Bitcoin. You need people to just go away from that thought of like, I need to buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, because then nothing else is going to succeed if that's where everyone's going to put their money in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so here's an example of a door. I don't know exactly how it would work yet, but like Bitcoin ATMs were a door. It wasn't just centralized exchanges. Like, what if, because TwizPay is the bank that they own, what if in Europe, if they were to create a way to buy eGold without the need of a centralized exchange? That's what I'm talking about. Get
Yeah.
rid of the middleman. You need a way where you have euros or dollars in your hand, and you can just, with as little friction as possible, get a hold of eGold on your phone through the X Portal app or whatever
Yeah.
you want to use. It needs to be like that.
and
As
and
soon as
without needing to call up your bank and question,
yeah,
why is my bank frozen, let me move Like
Yes.
it's just ridiculous.
This is the number one dilemma today, and I can't believe we're still here in 2023.
Yeah,
But like this is what we need to solve. Not building is great, but building is all for nothing if we can't get this part right. Like where people are going to be like, oh, that's really cool. Let me get my money in there, and then they see this KYC thing, or they're like, how do I buy eGold again? And they're just like, and because they have to think about it, now they're just that roadblock prevents them from even buying it in the first place. Because
totally.
like I said before, when you want to buy something, you just want to be done like that. You don't want to think much of it. And this is where we are in crypto. I mean, the we have all these amazing engineers building this technology, but none of them are thinking about how do we bring this to the average person in the world who doesn't think about how these things work.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're not running a business. They're building this software. And yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Definitely. It's like building this beautiful theme park and awesome roller coasters, awesome rides, but you literally have to go through an obstacle course to like get there. And it's just like I'm good on that, and it's not even like a conscious progression of thought. It's just the minute somebody runs into like a feeling that makes them nervous or uncertainty, your average human is gonna just turn away from that.
Yeah, so let me tell you, I started buying crypto October 2018. I
Hmm.
didn't I didn't get involved with a crypto wallet or figure out how they worked until almost 2 years later.
Yeah.
That's you see that, and I'm technically inclined. Like I can catch on with this stuff given enough time. But the average person, they can't do that. They have to ask a friend like how this
Oh
works.
yeah.
Even,
Yeah.
even as easy as how X Portal is, it's still hard for the average person to get their hands on Eagle to put it on there. They don't understand how the process of how that works with how it transfers to one address or another. They don't even know that they still don't even know that it's not even that the crypto is not even on their phone. It's all online. It's never
Yeah.
offline.
And that
It's
brings up an interesting thought as you're saying that and another subconscious kind of process that's going on to add to that complication is that user knows that they're handling their own money. So it's like it's one thing to have, imagine this is just just a pure, it's a pure game, it's all internet money, it's not real value. It's like, oh, I can feel comfortable dealing with that because if I make a mistake, it's like it's just a silly game. But in the real world, moving real money, and especially like just recently, I was helping out my parents moving, thousands of dollars. And
Mhm.
it's just like my dad is he is so freaking smart. He's a computer scientist. He writes
Mhm.
code. I mean, he does IT work. And I was on the phone with him for almost like an hour, just like processing through just like how to do it. And it's
I
like,
went through the same exact thing. My
yeah,
my my dad, I mean, he's a smart guy and he's had a great career for himself. But every time he even wants to move crypto, he comes to me first and I was like, "Hey, am I doing this right?" And I'm like every time I'm like, "You should know how to do this by now. We did this 5 times."
yeah, I think it's very much the idea. And, this is in 2018, same as you. I started buying crypto, I guess, in 2017, technically. And back then, I mean, I was like, I want to start a financial advice firm, not where we're necessarily managing people's money, but as you do with your dad, as I did with my dad, it's like when we're moving money, it's not a question of intellect. It's like following a recipe. Most people can follow a simple recipe, but it's like, oh my gosh, if I mess up the recipe, I lose 10,000 real dollars. It's like, and then you add that layer, and it's like, oh shoot, this is not a game. Like, so it brings into question just the idea of like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like whether it's my dad or your dad or even me, it's like, I wish I sometimes had somebody looking over my shoulder, making sure that I'm making the right steps because, it's like, yeah, we aren't all money managers. And even if you are managing money, that doesn't mean that you like to do it. And that doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes. So I very much believe that if it's not the answer to this door that you're kind of proposing, I mean, considering my background in personal financial planning, I know for a fact that there is an industry for advisors to come along and to not give, advice that you need all these certifications and so forth, but just a human, like looking across from you either from a table or on a Zoom meeting and just being like, yeah, like it's all good. I'm here making sure everything is good. So I don't know if you have any response to that idea of part of that, help to get people to that door is a new industry needs to kind of come out of. I don't know if you want to call it the advice industry or what, but yeah, what do you think? Because we can talk about X Portal and metaverses and NFTs. And so if it's not one of those things, and it's not necessarily what I'm saying, I mean, then what is it going to be? Like the fiat currency collapses, the world economy goes crazy, and then at that point, people, what? I mean, can they even take their money out of banks? Will the banks even allow them to put it into crypto? Like just like the progression of this industry, it's going to be a roller coaster. It's already been one. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we need to get to a point where people don't need that help. Like you're talking about having a whole industry come up with this of how to help people, like, make decisions within like the multiverse or cross chain or whatever. But having it simplified, um, you shouldn't need that. People should be able to
Right.
make their own decisions and just flick with their phone how they want to, where they want to put their money. Whether, like, on a Multiverse X, like you have Hatem protocol, you have Proteo DeFi, you have xExchange. There's liquidity pools for everything.
Yeah.
The So many ways to put your value somewhere. And the beauty about the internet is that everything's transparent. You can see it all there, and get all your ideas. Um, uh, but yeah, we need to get to a point where people don't need that help.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like you're pointing to both automation as well as artificial intelligence.
that Yeah, I wasn't thinking about AI, but wow, what if everyone had like a parrot on their shoulder that just kind of like was like,
Right.
hey, are you thinking about this when you're making that decision? Or
No, yeah. I
it's like,
mean,
did you know what the risks are? Da, 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 da.
totally. And I mean that the only risk kind of that I see through that is just, encryption. It's like if you have, say that I know that Benjamin and some other team members have definitely talked about interaction with AI. And I know for a fact that after consensus this past April, I think both Danny and Alex Radu um, I think they said not to really say anything about this, but if you're watching this interview right now, viewers out there, then you earned this. But Alex Radu was meeting with OpenAI people in San Francisco, and he and I met up and got some coffee and lunch, and it was super chill. But so that points to more speculation. But yeah, if there was a little artificial intelligence on X Portal or something, then obviously it would have ultimate power, most probably, to move funds, to sign transactions. So obviously security would be paramount in that situation. And but then again, it's like there's going to be different audiences across the spectrum of ages. Are you am I dealing with a grandparent, my own parents, my peer, or people younger than me? And there's going to be, a whole spectrum of people. Would they prefer to deal with artificial intelligence, or would they just prefer to sit down with a real human across the table? But all of that stuff really excites me because obviously, like, there's business to be made there, and that excites me. But the whole reason that I'm here in the first place is for financial freedom, both for myself, for my friends, for my family. So that's always kind of where my eye is off in the distance. Is all right, I've kind of figured this out, and I'm here early dealing with the volatility and the early tech startups. But all right, I want to bring my friends and family into this. How do we corral the masses to where things are not too chaotic, I guess?
It's got to be easy. It's got to be simple.
Yeah.
It's got to be where to a point where they can subconsciously think, I want to do this, and just be able to do it. like without a second thought. Like
Oh,
when you're
now we're talking AI chips implanted in the brain.
yeah. Um,
Well,
I don't
anyway,
know what to think about that right now.
yeah, let's keep it a little centered here. You mentioned just this, whole concept of simplicity and banks. So I think that naturally kind of brings us to a conversation having to do with regulation, having to do with the SEC, and then specifically just, I believe I could be wrong. It's not that important, but I'm in the United States. If you want to share where you are, but
Yes, I'm
yeah,
in the United States as well.
yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, as we kind of progress closer and closer to, a closer look at Multiverse X. Yeah, what are your thoughts on where the climate is as we've got new ETFs that are coming into the picture from BlackRock and a whole wave of them, and especially in I know we talked about cycles a little bit, rather you did. And what are your thoughts on everything that's kind of shaping at this moment? September 2023. What do you think is the United States stance on crypto, and where do you think it's heading?
Well, I've been very sad to see what's happened over the course of the past couple of years in this in this market. The ETFs honestly hasn't really gotten me excited. Mainly because it's gotten me to see who's really going to be in control of it. Um, and it leads me more to believe that we're just going to encounter another cycle instead of actual adoption, because
Hmm.
people are just still looking at crypto as a vehicle to just put your money into rather than something to be involved in.
Yeah.
And that's what smart contracts unlocked, as something for you to be involved in. Like one of the most exciting things on Multiverse X that I've been involved with was Notion, and I talked to Josh a lot, and I love. I mean, he's taken a lot of risks to actually to build a business on this thing and to make it work. And his his NFT platform and getting GNG right is something that just for him to have the just how careful he is with it, it's very uh, it's just very promising. We need to have more people like him trying to take the risk to build a business around this technology, because
Yeah.
that's where the value gets created. But the value isn't there if people don't see the chain itself as a store of value, which has to change first. Um, uh, Kind of forget where I was going with it,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
yeah,
mean, in light of that ETF, I think I'm inclined to agree with you at least partially, because in my perspective, there's kind of the reality of, yeah, I see exactly what you mean. And that's what really roped me into crypto in 2017, 2018 was, I mean, until proven wrong, right? But like this realization that we will continue to have these cycles of boom and bust. But with each of the booms, it will draw some people into the surface, but each of the booms, some of those, some percentage of those new users that might just have bought Bitcoin, or like yourself, just bought Bitcoin Cash, it will click with them, and they will, sink in deeper and get it. But I mean, yeah, I totally agree. It's like I'm too bullish. I think that the next bull run will be the paradigm switch, but maybe you're right. Maybe just this ETF will just be another reason for people to, just boom and bust.
but here's how I feel. We need to get out of this boom bust cycle, and
Totally. Yeah.
it's possible, but it's not good to just have these cycles every 4 years. It's because nothing ever gets done with the technology. Like it's all just get rich quick with all these people
Yeah.
getting involved, and that mentality will change once people have a store of value with an infrastructure on board. Like Bitcoin is a store of value, right? But that's all it is. That's all it has going for it. Nothing can be built on it effectively enough to support enough of the population to with smart contracts. I won't get into that right now
Sure.
with how they how smart contracts are being built for Bitcoin, but I just know that it can't be supported. I mean, you need a blockchain like MultiverseX in order to make it all work around the world.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's disheartening to see that uh, almost everyone doesn't get it yet. Um, I thought that by now that people would slowly gravitate and see where things are into how it all functions um, and yeah, so we need to see a change in mindset where that store of value is. And in order to change that mindset, we need to create it as easy as possible for someone to just put their money into something. That's when you're going to see the chart go to the moon, when it's so easy to put money into something. Um, yeah, you could buy Bitcoin almost anywhere. There's so many doors for it, even Bitcoin ATMs. But like Eagle, like the only thing people think the only way they can get it, well, most people, is just through that X Portal app. People haven't even explored what the other ways to hold Eagle are, using the DeFi wallet or even just through like a JSON file, like a key store file. That was the earliest way of having a wallet, and that's how we got in early. I'm sure that was the way to do it, like when it was at its very infancy. um, uh, and that's how we were also able to realize that value, because we got in before Myar even came out.
Yeah.
um, do you remember that surge when Myar first released January 1st, 2021? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was it was maybe 3 days. It went from, I remember overnight, it went from like uh, $32 or something to like 64 or something. It was like a double, like
Yeah.
over 2 days upon the release. But what happened here? Let's think about it for a second. Like,
Hmm.
why did it double? It didn't double because of the excitement of the news, but because it created a new door. It was a new way to buy it.
Yeah.
People bought Eagle through, even though it was KYC, but didn't take a lot to push the price up that much. The market cap was only like maybe what, 100 million, 200 million. I can't remember. I got to look at that. But and it doesn't even take that much money to double it, not at
Right.
all. But like I said, like if you want more money to come into this blockchain, you got to have more doors and have them as convenient as possible, or it's all for nothing. Whether it's some sort of ATM where someone can just like, oh yeah, right there, I could just put my money and I could just buy this e-gold over there, or whatever the case. But the current financial regulation does not allow for a good experience with getting
Yeah.
this in. So I'm not saying that the Multiverse X team has to break the law. What I'm saying is they got to get creative. How are they going to convince people that to put their money directly into eGold? That's the challenge. Um, and it can't just be like, oh yeah, go get involved on Binance or get involved here and then transfer your money to a wallet. Most people are not going to get that savvy where they're going to be involved here and over there, then over there, then over there. No, you want to make an all-in-one experience. So you can't. People don't want to juggle all this. Like,
Yeah.
this is the average person's thinking. So create a door where they don't have to go through that. But we don't have that yet. The only door that you have is on the X Portal app. The only one that's not like that is to have on the X Portal app, but it gives you a KYC wall. And most people are like, hey, I just want to own this. I don't want to just like throw my ID in there and do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Try to find a way where it doesn't go against current regulation, where someone can easily obtain the asset. And then from there, like, once you're on the X Portal app, I mean, like, there's so much that you can just easily discover. They've done a great job with that, by the way, ever since MyR transferred to X Portal and all these updates ever since February. That's been good this year. But it doesn't add value just yet because we haven't had that influx of new uh, uh, of new people, there needs to be new money. It's the only way that it carries on in a sustainable way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, especially the fact that you were stateside and still kind of wrapping up this topic on crypto at a national level. What are your expectations from the perspective of the presidential candidates? Anybody you want to mention as they're discussing this, and as well as, tactics? Do you think some politicians are really going to be pro crypto? And, I have some follow-up questions after that. But do you think that a future politician or president should or will play a major role in the conversation surrounding crypto?
I think it goes deeper than that. It's a lot of what the president does these days is, I mean, we all think of them as the leader, but they're following orders too.
Yeah.
They're part of a group of people.
Mm,
Uh, it's a group of people who's in charge, not just one guy, but they are the face of the administration, of course.
mhm.
So, of course, like with whatever happens now, everyone blames Biden for it. And back when Donald Trump was president, everyone blamed him for it. But it's like, come on, get real. Like, one guy can only do so much. There's a whole team involved here, and what's unfortunate with our country is we don't really know who's in charge. It's even scary when I'm not a Biden supporter, because like we all know deep down he's not in charge. That's the scariest thing, when you don't know who's in charge.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember, and just as it's interesting that I throw this question at you, and in my head there's like this childlike spirit that's like, oh boy, I can't wait for the next politician to come along and just tell us that he's bullish crypto and he's going to make all this happen. But that reminded me of back in the previous election. I feel like a lot of people, their peers of mine, they voted for Biden because of his shtick on student loan forgiveness. And to me, like, that was very akin to sixth grade. Somebody's
Mhm.
on, oh, I'm gonna bring vending machines back, and we're gonna get an extra recess. It's like, all right, like, and so it's like, damn it, like, very much so I could see some politicians trying to speak to the Bitcoin audience, but really just making promises. But if they do get that seat, just as you said, it's like, who's really making those decisions?
Yeah, there's no guarantee. Like someone could even a presidential candidate could even say that they're pro crypto and all that, but there's no guarantee they can get anything done regarding it. It depends who else is involved with like Congress is a big cog too
Mm-hmm.
in the whole scheme of things, in the House. I mean, they won't pass what they don't want, and so it's the whole thing. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, but I it politics is so complicated, and a lot of it is corrupt too.
Yeah, most definitely.
That that you can't wait on it to be you can't wait on it to support a good environment for the space. You need to find a way to work with the current system, and that's what I mean with this door. Like, create more doors to kind of get this asset. Um, if you have to be sneaky about it, yeah, but I mean, but don't, like, I'm not saying to break the law, the current regulation with getting it done. You just gotta understand the law very well and create a way where people can buy this more directly. It's the
Yeah,
only way to
yeah.
get value into the system.
I'm curious if you saw it, and it's it's not the big, fist up, we did it type of feeling, but it reminded me in this conversation just yesterday on the 15th. The team, Benjamin and everybody, they released the X Portal application. You can now send gift cards. So, I mean, I'd be curious to talk to, somebody who knows the law, litigation, but it's like, all right, if I start a business and I say, send me cash on Venmo or Zelle or Cash App, and I'll send you the gift card. It's like, that fixes at least part of the issue, like no KYC.
That's another door. That's an
Who
example
knows
of a
if
door
that's
that they can
legal?
open. But it sounds perfectly legal to me. I
Sounds
mean,
doable, that's for sure.
yeah. I mean, you could call it a gift card or whatever it is. I mean, like I said, that's a creative, sneaky way to get people to get their hands on Eagle a lot more easily.
Yeah. So
Uh,
did you see that announcement? And yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I know you just responded to it, but do you think that something as small as gift cards through X Portal? I mean, obviously you just said that's another door, but I don't know, man.
but
It's like I don't want to be sneaky about anything. We want to follow the rules, but what are your
right.
thoughts?
Well, it is following the rules as long as you're not breaking any rules, right?
But is but it's not so direct as much as it is, it'd be super. It's like, oh, I pull out my phone, just
Yep.
I don't know, something a little bit easier than having to go through somebody who already has KYC and whatnot. But it's a small thing, but it does speak to what you're referring to.
It helps.
Yeah, it helps.
But hmm. Yeah, I hadn't really thought much about that. I don't think I saw that announcement, but that's a very good to hear in my mind.
Yeah. Well, moving closer, if there's any thoughts that you have on regulation on more of a local level, whether that be in your own, neighborhood is super duper local, but more so the state that you might reside, or I know that Miami, in Texas, I mean not Miami, but Florida, I feel like I've at least seen things on headlines that they seem to be more open to the idea of cryptocurrency. So any thoughts on any specific states or any sorts of people that you have heard about have heard talking about crypto, and what sort of things you're liking and disliking, or yeah, any ideas that you might have on how to make it more welcoming for our borders?
Well, from my experience, the only people I hear talk about crypto or interested are people in our generation. I'm not. It's
Yeah.
very rare to find someone in a baby boomer or a Gen Xer who will even be receptive to it. So it could take some time for more of us to be part of the population it until the mindset shifts. But
Yeah. Are you seeing anything at all that I know you mentioned at the beginning you're not, you're busy with some cool opportunities. So, all due respect, you may not be the best person to ask, but I mean, I don't know either. I wouldn't say that I waste time distracting myself with things that are so far out of my control. It's like, yeah, I'll catch a headline here or there. But as far as I'm concerned, I try to keep my scope pretty focused. But sometimes that misinforms my own market stance. It's like back in 2021, I should have been taking more profits, but instead I was just like, this is the paradigm shift. So at some points, I could be more informed and make better informed decisions. So there's no problem with being out of the markets. So if you don't have anything that you've really been seeing, then I don't blame you either.
yeah, I haven't really been seeing anything. I haven't followed too much on what's been going on here. But I know that whatever the case, it's going to take time because they've really, um, with all the with all that's happened with crypto, the SBF scandal and
Yeah.
everything, it's really drowned out sentiment in very negative territory, and even just bring it up to the average person, it's not going to be received well. So I've been in my own life been pretty quiet about talking about crypto to other people. Like if someone is interested, I will tell them what I know, and if they're receptive, I'll teach them if they're interested. There's one there's a one colleague of mine that was very surprised to learn how well versed I am with this technology, and I will be more vocal over time, but just because of the state of the market and everything, it's not something I want to be publicly received. Like it's also why I haven't really put my name out there yet. I don't want to be viewed in a negative light, be misunderstood. It's this is a complicated space to be involved in
Yeah.
with the way the world is today.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I don't know if you've ever really had any loss of relationship over having people get into crypto just at the wrong time and their portfolio goes down, but Yeah, the way I see it and my personal view is, and especially during the bear market, you got a lot of the noise that's just far away. So I would say that there's definitely a huge opportunity right now for your voice to be heard in the right conversations. So there's value there, but yeah, I mean, I totally see just the idea of to be much more, vocal about it to different areas, all areas, people who aren't even interested in crypto. But
Mhm.
in terms of the conversation, what do you think are, I mean, all things considered, in your view, what are the most exciting developments? These could be, baseline fundamentals of crypto, or you could move into how Ethereum and smart contracts improved, or you could even take it so far as the local look into Multiverse X. But yeah, the question is, what are the most exciting recent developments or trends in cryptocurrency that basically you're most excited about and you think will most define the shape of its future?
Well, I'm very excited with what's been built on Multiverse X, but at the same time, it's been neutralized by this bear market. So I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say excitement is the right word, but I'm happy the tools are there. Uh, the
So how about
excitement
let me ask you this. I mean, were you excited when Elrond Network released My Exchange and Mex farming?
that may have been the peak, yeah, and that was also the peak of the price.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I'm gonna ask this directly. Yeah, if you can, separate yourself from price and emotion and excitement and community
Mhm.
going crazy. Like, and maybe this is kind of just getting back to your fundamental value and of blockchain, whether that's Bitcoin or some of these others. But yeah, looking into the future, imagine that things are bullish, that it's happening, new doorways are opened. Well, I know
Mhm.
you mentioned Nojin and Josh, doing what he's doing with NFTs. Obviously, you've got an NFT as your profile picture. So yeah, I mean, I guess just like from this point moving forward, what do you see yourself in the world of high energy bull market? What do you think you're going to get lost in? What do you think you're just going to go head over heels, just learning about it, sharing about it with friends, family, and the like?
uh, the thing that still gets me, it still amazes me, is the transfer of value, whether it's with the smart contract. It doesn't have to be with it with eGold or but you can package any asset into a liquidity pool. Like you can even package like LP tokens into like an NFT or whatever. What I believe Haddam Protocol is doing that right now, or is it Proteo? It was a few weeks
During
back.
the bear market, there's been a lot of DeFi that has been happening, and I've got some two people in the space that are on it. But my bear market mentality is not focused really too much on DeFi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and DeFi hasn't been any money to be made in DeFi since the peak yet, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm still involved with it. Like you said, long term investment, but it really relies on getting new blood in here, and yeah, so we need
So
that
you're
door.
saying just the transfer or the how you referred to it, the transfer of value, the ability to put like LPs even in an NFT, kind of
Yeah,
referring back to the conversation of looking forward, what's going to excite you the most?
yeah, just the fact that it's permissionless and that no one knows what I'm doing online with it. It's great. I love my freedom, you know, and everyone deserves to have that freedom. That's what this technology unlocks, you know. There's a way to be very private on Multiverse X. I have several wallets. People don't even know what they are, and if people wanted to try what to know what I own, I mean, they can't prove it, and that's the beauty of it. You know, uh, and that's part of the magic of this technology, and it's also why the status quo and the people in charge. It's why they don't like it,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
don't want you to know about that. And I've been so excited about this technology in general because this has never been possible before. I mean, this is what it's unlocked. That's why I had such an excitement from the beginning and had so much to say on Twitter, especially on MultiversX, not with the other blockchains, because it's made so easy and so quick. You can do it like that. I mean, you want to move your Eagle to USDC, you don't have to worry about, like, the chain choking up. The chain can handle so much bandwidth. And with Bitcoin, you want to transfer some Bitcoin on chain, you might have to wait a week. So, I mean, huge differences, but the average person doesn't know that unless they've actually tried doing this themselves. And then they're like, well, why is this taking so long? It's like, well, I understood because I understand the technicalities with computers. Most people don't. And if they don't like how something works, then they're just gonna walk away from it, And so that's why I don't think Bitcoin is the future of this. It has to improve in some way, or the status quo has to change. I think MultiverseX supports the best experience for everyone, and but people don't see it as a store of value yet. We have to build that door so that it can become a store of value. And it won't be viewed that way if people just keep thinking of this market as Bitcoin and altcoins. And it's like, I don't think it's going to be a good future if it's that way. People want one and done. I just want it all here. And I chose to keep almost all my assets on this chain because it's very secure. It's very easy to use. And I don't need to second guess anything.
Yeah. And that makes me question too, and because the way you're framing it, it's almost like in my head, it's like, yeah, it's almost like the SEC should actually come along and do its job and actually define basically which protocols are kind of like the best. It's like, come on, like who is on the board of the SEC and how many different informants are in on the conversation. And I don't know, I mean, with ability to track data and to do tests, and this is a question for you with your experience with computers. Like, how come there's not any one basically like almost like decentralized or verifiable way of clocking and saying, yes, this is in fact the best blockchain? Like, how come it's even still a conversation
I
of,
don't know.
like, how come we can't prove if Multiverse X really is the best, most scalable, how come it's still a question?
Wow, because there's so much money wrapped in these protocols, right?
So you think it just has a
And
lot to do with just
money talks.
VCs
Like,
where the money is flowing?
if you feel like your money is threatened in some way, you're afraid to let the truth come out. But what's surprising to me is that when people learn the truth, they don't change their ways to side with the truth. They just stay with they want to convince themselves that they're right. People don't want to naturally people don't want to admit that they're wrong. It's very humbling, and most people are not going to have a humbling attitude. And
That's what bear markets are good for.
oh yeah. And I admit that, yes, I was wrong with where eGold was going. I took my own risks and calculated risks. Like, I'm still very well off today. I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I put a lot of eggs in one basket, but I didn't put them all in there. And this can go on for a long time, and I'll still be okay. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so much conviction because of uh, I, I don't see anything else working as well. I've tried a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about the average guy, the average person that's going to stumble upon this technology and what they are going to value the most. And I think they're going to value what I mentioned, that you don't have to think about it. It's just going to work, and you can get it done in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And Bitcoin is never ever going to achieve that. And
Yeah.
it's until people get their hands on actually using the technology that they're going to learn this, not from what their neighbor's going to say, or from it's also why these ETFs, like, with Bitcoin from BlackRock and Fidelity, it's just going to cause another boom bust cycle instead of people wanting to discover how the technology really works. You really got to hold it on a wallet. You got to learn how to get it on a wallet, but there needs to be easier ways to get the crypto on a wallet.
Yeah, yeah.
It has to be, and then we can move away from these ETFs, because then subconsciously everyone's just going to know, oh, this is how you buy it. I don't need to buy a stinking ETF to be financially involved. You want to actually own the asset so that you can do whatever it is you want with it, transfer value into whatever token you want to be involved in. I mean, the whole idea of having a value transfer protocol is to have tokenized gold, silver, tokenized, like even oil, whatever it is, some sort of tokens are
Derivative.
supposed to represent something, yeah, and it's supposed to be a verifiable. That's the whole purpose of this technology, and to
Yeah.
be so permissionless and easy. And nothing does it better than MultiversX.
So yeah, definitely agree with your opinions on the permissionless aspects. So kind of zooming in a little bit close, it's I think I've been a little bit surprised by just how I'll coin the term maxi that you have been. But I'm curious, and obviously this is your personal information, but yeah, what's your portfolio looking like in terms of cross-chain assets, or if it's mostly just Multiverse X, what sort of things are you running with in terms of NFTs, LP positions, DeFi, or even your XMEX?
Yeah, I barely changed anything over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I just let it sit and grow. And um, I've adjusted here and there, like on the last Zoid Pay surge. Like, I had a lot of LPs in that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry to inform you that I exited almost that whole thing on the last big surge, and but it was because I did not see an immediate future with ESDTs. So I've been primarily e-golded. So um, wanted to secure a lot of value in e-gold with that. So
Yeah.
um,
So you at
yeah.
least have you had your finger on the pulse of Zoid Pay in addition to Eagled, of course.
Mhm.
And is that something that you're still keeping your finger on the pulse, or have you kind of separated yourself and you're waiting for a much larger tell from the market before you really start to get involved into moving around your assets?
Yeah, I waited for an opportunity to. I thought I was going to get a better opportunity to convert Eagle back to Bitcoin, but never really got to that, and the exchange rate kept falling, and now I just sit with the Eagle and I just let it compound.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just mostly staked, and it's been that way for 2 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm actually surprised how much it has compounded within that time frame. But of course, in terms of dollar value, it's declined dramatically. But um, I'm not concerned. It's a good chunk of change, and at any time that the market decides to go in a bull cycle, it can just do a 3 to 5x, and I'm back where I was at the peak because of how much it compounded. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even need to reach an all-time high for those assets to even get to break new highs for me. So, but for that to happen, you need new blood, but it won't take too much new blood. You just need to give them a door that they want to use, a door that's easy. That's the
Yeah.
solution. A lot is built and ready to go, and to get people involved. More can be built and ready to go to get people involved, but that door is the most important thing in my mind, and that's what I'm waiting for, to know when the next huge surge will happen. And but for this time, if the door is good enough, uh, uh, we need to see if people start seeing this as a store of value instead of like this as just a temporary thing to just get more Bitcoin. The mentality needs to change, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping it does you know, for people to stay involved in this space rather than just every 4 years.
Yeah, most definitely. So considering the Myar Dex launch back in November 2021, obviously we're all collecting a whole bunch of mechs and locked mechs. So what's been your perspective on the mechs token? I know that especially in the months after the Myar Exchange, now xExchange launched, you and Wesley and myself were getting into some conversations about expected path and so forth. So yeah, I'm definitely curious, as I'm sure much of the audience is. What's been your narrative from the beginning of Max through year one, where basically, some ideas were brought on into the conversation, like meta bonding, but then we didn't really get any sort of new real tokenomics until xDay. A year after Myar Exchange launched, and that's of course whenever we got the transition to xExchange, the new platform, really kind of the interface and everything. And then, the whole MEX 2.0 tokenomics and the XMEX energy paradigm. So, firstly, do you still have some locked MEX or MEX, or have you transitioned to XMEX? And yeah, tell the viewers about basically your interaction with the exchange and where you see it heading.
Well, fortunately for me, Mex was like a freebie for me. It was like a bonus because I haven't really bought it. I got a lot of locked mechs from the beginning because of all the staked eagle I had, and that was an airdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And I always saw it as a bonus. I didn't really buy any extra, and over time, I liquidated some of that locked mechs back in like 2022? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all throughout 2022. So I still have locked mechs, but it's not even worth changing back to Eagle now because what I have left is maybe worth 10, 20 Eagle. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
So,
really fallen in a great deal. It's fallen a great deal, that's for sure.
but at every opportunity I had, I converted it over to Eagle because I always believed that in order for Mex to grow, you need more users. But if you need more users, you need people to come into the ecosystem first. And when they come into the ecosystem first, they're going to buy Eagle. So the door would be going into Eagle and then going from Eagle to Mex. So you were always going to see if there was an opportunity for Mex that there would be a surge in Eagle first, which means the whole value from Eagle to Mex would improve. So you would be able to buy more Mex with your Eagle before you would have that opportunity in Mex. So that's
Right.
why I always gradually, at every opportunity when it was to unlock the Mex, to get it to Eagle. And when we haven't had the surge, I was like, okay, we're not at that point yet. We're not at that point yet. If we ever get to that point, like I said, this door is so important, like to get new blood in here. We can't rely on people to be buying Bitcoin and then to migrate to this chain.
And this
Um,
is this whole idea of this second, or not door, but just this door. You're saying it's so important from a perspective of setting the standard of a store of value. That's kind of the
yes.
point that you're trying to hit.
And by door, I mean the flow of money. How is money going to flow into this blockchain? The only way right now is there's a lot of value tied up in Bitcoin. So whenever someone does a trade from Bitcoin to eGold or something into the ecosystem, which is actually pretty rare considering the volumes, it does prop up the price really quick, really fast. So if the
Yeah.
mentality changes, you're going to see eGold go bananas, like
Oh
when the
yeah. Yeah.
mentality changes. But of course, you're going to see it go up like 10x before the mentality even changes at all, before it's even considered. So I
Right.
mean, that's why I've never really I'm not selling any gold here. I mean, like it's such an incredible opportunity when that does happen, whether we get just another cycle again or whether we start to have this shift in mindset. But that's what I'm going to be paying attention to as this next bull market unfolds. Regardless, whatever I think, regardless, I'm going to be taking profits next round. That's for sure.
Are you taking profits in fiat or Bitcoin? Because I know you mentioned this bear market, you weren't able to transition as much e-gold into that Bitcoin. It continued to fall in
Right.
value. So yeah, what's your profit
Well,
taking strategy as the bull market emerges?
Well, for my personal situation, it would be fiat first before Bitcoin. Not because I need the fiat. Well, I have I have a wife, and she has certain goals too. So I wanted to allow those goals to be reached sooner for her.
Of course. Good husband.
Yes.
Happy life, happy wife, or I guess the other way around. Happy wife, happy life.
Yes. Um,
Well, what are
yeah.
her perspectives on your investments into crypto and everything? Is she supportive? Is that completely out of the conversation?
No, not very supportive at all. It's
Yeah.
struggle.
Just wait till
So,
next bull run.
and I've tried to make the time. Well, I'm always willing to make the time for her to teach her if she wanted to learn anything about it regarding it, but she didn't want to take the time to learn anything. So it's all me on this.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so pointing back to the question of your portfolio, it sounds like the majority of your holdings are in eGold, and that's kind of the driver of your portfolio. So are you staking? Are you planning to hold some on basically just however they say top up? I'll refer to it as basically just it's sitting in your wallet, not in staking. So if by chance there is a massive move, you are able to take some early profits. I just spoke to Crypto Div, and that's what he spoke about is that he's got eGold staking and he's got some that's not staking. He's not really into DeFi and everything because he's just trying to position himself that he can take advantage of any sort of appreciation that comes earlier in the cycle. So yeah, are you looking to take profits in that sort of manner, or yeah, it's still kind of questioning what your plan is moving forward, and also if that will be dictated on the overall price move. I mean, say that we get a 2x, maybe it's just
Mhm.
crazy to say 2x is only equal at $50. But of course, 100% gains is significant. But what if just things really start going crazy? What if, I mean, like, because that's the mentality that I would say broke me the prior bull run was like I lost any desire to take profits because it's like I'm looking at Eagle at $550 at the most. It's like I've
Yeah.
got a long way of green room before my portfolio is technically back to where it started. So I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking about taking profits because I didn't expect for the bear market to basically just take this long. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that in terms of how fast the market might appreciate and how that could dictate your strategy?
It can snap back so fast, and
Totally,
I know
yeah.
it can. Just look at the market cap. I mean, and you have to realize what the problem is today. And I've already touched on it. I'm not going to say it again.
Yeah.
Getting that new blood in there. But like when get like it's not that hard to double the current uh, user base based on the amount of users that are active on MultiversX today.
Oh, yeah.
It can explode as soon as everyone's like, oh, bull market, like you can't like a 100% increase is absolutely nothing compared to what can really happen under those circumstances. Like this is still early. I can't even believe it got this low, but
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me question just where it would be fun to see just the market dynamics because obviously the early days of the Myar exchange xExchange launch they had to put a halt on that because there was so much mercenary capital that was exiting. So
Mhm.
that's always been a question of mine as well. What if Myar decks never launched? What if the Mex token never existed and maybe the team just did it differently? But yeah, I've had questions about that. Like, if the Mex token doesn't exist, maybe Eagle would not have had as much ability to fall down in price. Or maybe I'm just, the classic just underestimating the power of the bear market.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and back then that was just whales getting in. A lot of whales are probably entering the ecosystem and then got out. But I mean, that's the thing. We need all these little shrimps to get in here.
Yeah.
So because then that's where it'll stabilize value because the odds of having a significantly more people leaving at once is a lot less than fewer people, right? Um, so but more people will not pour in unless that gate and accessibility is there. Of just getting little by little, holding on to the eagle, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had another question before. I think I had an answer to. I forget what you were asking.
I was asking about your portfolio before this, and if you had any thoughts on the cross chain, as well as if you do happen to have any other assets. And I don't know if that was the question you're referring to.
Well, I yeah, everything is mostly staked. I do keep a reserve of liquid gold, like in case of that surge, like about um, it was 10% and then it was 5%. Now it's a little less because I wanted to get involved in a few small opportunities, especially when Haddam protocol came live. I transferred some of that liquid eagle to a liquidity pool and staking. It was just a small amount, not too much. I'm involved in like xEGLD, HSEGLD pool, and no, it was the native eGold SEGLD pool,
mhm.
so that I can passively earn on that while also being staked. Yeah, I think that's like 14% APR, whatever that
Yeah,
is today.
not shabby at
It's,
all.
it's really good. Um, but understanding the risks with using another protocol uh, that it's wrapped up into a, well, it's liquid. Yeah, it's liquid in the sense that it's that token. But like if something was to happen, where if there was a hack, or not a hack, but an exploit, I mean, then it can easily be compromised in the sense that uh, there's only so many tokens out there to claim the eagle that's in there. Uh, but if there was an exploit where there weren't there wasn't enough eagle to claim through all the liquidity pool tokens that were there, then you have that issue. So that is a risk, but it's a very small risk. I don't even see that exploit even happening given all of the precautions that have happened with it. But I'm not putting all of my eagle into that staking protocol.
Yeah.
It's if anything is to be learned over the past couple of years is to diversify how you're holding it and how you're staking it. Native eagle is always the best. And by
Yeah.
native eagle, just eagle, not wrapped eagle, not uh, liquidity pool token. Native eagle is the safest way
For
to
sure.
hold. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So just a couple more kind of questions here before we head our separate ways. But I want to thank you so much for, I mean, everything that you've talked about so far. I think it's a lot of fun to shoot similar questions at different guests and just hear their thoughts and interpretations. I'd say if there was one major theme that you've kind of been trying to push home is just this idea of that doorway, getting new users in. And I'm looking forward to having guests return on the podcast. So in years down the road, it'll be interesting to have another conversation with you and observe some of these things. So before I get into the final kind of question, I want to pick your brain about xDay as it's been announced, and whether you want to say anything about xDay last year, the transition from Elrond Network and adapting this new name. Did you have any thoughts on that last year? I don't remember how engaged you were at that time last year. But yeah, what do you think about the new name, and what are your anticipations or expectations for this year's xDay in Bucharest?
Initially, I was pretty indifferent to the name change. I had a mix of thoughts with it. At first, I didn't like it at all, and then I realized what they were trying to do, and like, okay, it's just in my it just flowed off the tongue better when it was Elrond, but I understand why they changed that. And
Why is that? Why, as you've come to understand, why did they change the name to that?
they wanted to disassociate from like a Lord of the Rings type name, and actually, uh, MultiversX was being judged for being under that name when it was Elrond Network.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but now MultiverseX kind of complicated it in another sort of way, in a different way. To too many syllables. You always kind of want to have a short name if possible, but
Yeah.
uh,
This podcast doesn't exactly have the shortest name, but I'm embracing it. The
yeah,
Multiverse Experience Podcast. I should make it even longer somehow. But
yeah.
yeah.
Or enter the X portal.
Oh yeah. So yeah, doesn't sound like you were too compelled one way or the other on the name change. But over the past 9 months, I mean, now that we're in quarter 3 and everything, what do you think of the hyper growth strategy that Benjamin and the team has put out? And do you have any expectations for xDay or any things that you are speculating on in terms of partnerships with Tencent Cloud and anything underlying under the surface you might be looking at?
I have no speculations as of now. And like I said, I haven't been too involved with seeing every news article lately.
Yeah.
So I just kept it very simple for myself while I don't have the time to look into these things, just to steak and bake, baby.
Easy peasy. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like you've got your things that you're keeping a line and paying attention to in your own life. And I did have the question though. It sounds like you're just chilling, and maybe there's some other players that are involved in your financial decisions. But are you accumulating anything at this point? Or are you just looking at $22 e-gold and saying, "Oh, I don't want to buy a single one"?
As much as I want to buy more, no, I am not buying any more crypto at this time.
Yeah,
But that's due to my current personal situation. I have plenty of crypto as as a comparison to my overall net worth. So I feel
yeah,
that I do not need any more to have enough exposure for an explosion.
yeah.
So right now I'm just focused on my current uh, opportunities in life outside of crypto, and just if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, well, I can just keep going with my life.
Totally, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems to be, the truth is that I made myself feel insane because I accumulated so hard in 2018. Like literally, I mean, it was, I wish that I would have just played the whole market better and taken profits so I could redo my strategy. But yeah, I mean, my previous host, Alec, he was very much on the train of like, I've got my exposure. I'm not buying anymore. I've already lost enough money in this bear market.
Hmm.
So I totally understand the perspective and the fact that you already have the exposure that you've got. It's like I think you have already mentioned how you believe, how quickly it could in theory go back to its prices. So yeah, I mean, that's I think the safest place to be, because as much as you look at the economistic on Twitter, he's still bullish, I'm going to buy more, and then the price drops another 50%, and then you're wrecked again. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
advice from yourself is always the best.
From, from a risk reward perspective, it's just insane to even think of selling anything here.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's like if you are already very, very deeply involved or have a lot of ego, like yeah, just keep treading water with it, and until uh, we start seeing this door. And I really hope the team understands that they need this door. I
yeah,
really hope so, and not just assume, oh well, we'll just keep building until the people come in. Well, you got to give them a reason to come in. You got to think about how the human mind works here. Like
yeah,
why are people going to choose this? It's not always going to be enough to just build. They need to. It needs to be easy for them.
yeah. Cool, cool. All right. So my final question to you is very I'm keeping it open on purpose. It was mentioned on the document. So yeah, Serenation, to close us out. All things considered here, what is your interpretation of the multiverse? So not Multiverse X, not what you think about that, but what the heck is the multiverse? And I can help clarify that kind of question unless you have some thoughts and ready to give your response.
The multiverse, just like a culmination of all of the applications at your disposal. I mean, it doesn't have to just be a 3D digital representation of what you want to see in your mind. I see it as just the digital world that blockchain unlocks. Um, And so in terms of being a multiverse today, it's at its infancy. We're still building. What's still being fleshed out is the whole economy of it. For it to work, there needs to be an economy, right? So, and for there to be an economy, there has to be a store of value. If people don't believe there's a store of value in these things, you can have a beautiful looking multiverse, but with no value in it. And so that's the challenge. And so I think of things one step at a time, and that's just where we are today in 2023. That the economy needs to be better before people even get interested in being involved in a multiverse like that.
Awesome. Well, love it, man. Well, you can follow the Serenation here on Twitter at the Serenation. But seriously, thank you so much for the time. Really enjoyed the conversation here. Any closing thoughts or any things you want to shill? I mean, you've got your Twitter out there. You mentioned the YouTube channel and music, but yeah, anything else you want to share with the audience before we let you make your exit?
It was great to be on with you. I really hope we do this again. I had a lot of fun, and bye, EGLD.
Hell yeah. All right, Serenation, thanks again for your time, and we'll continue with the show here. But thanks again. We'll see you in some future episode. How about that? We'll make it a plan.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone. How did you like that discussion that I had with Serenation? Go ahead and leave a comment if you liked it. What was your favorite part? Share it on Twitter as well. But as promised, we've got a short little market update to share with you. So if you direct your attention to your screens, we're going to get right into it. As you can see, just a broad look at the Bitcoin chart. So I always like to start my analyses looking at Bitcoin because it's the market leader. It's going to have a larger indication, a larger tell as to where the market sentiment is. And yeah, just observing this from year to date, go ahead and click there in the bottom, and everything you see on your screen here is everything that's taken place in year 2023. So we've had a lot of shakeouts this year so far. Earlier in March, we had this huge tumble down whenever we first broke 25K. Lots of volatility, lots of sideways movements that have always really ended in kind of capitulatory moments. So these days, what we are looking at, in my opinion, is an area that is lots of traffic. And in case you did not know, we've been trading sideways for a long time now. So one of the rules of trading charts is basically that anytime support breaks, that area becomes resistance. Anytime resistance breaks, that area becomes support. So just kind of looking here and analyzing some of these horizontal lines, because horizontal lines tend to be where those areas of support and resistance are actually established and reinforced. And we can see here that even though the growth has been productive over the year, we've really yet to see any major breakout. Price has almost more than doubled since the beginning of the year, and altcoins have been suffering even more, but that's just the nature of things. So one of my favorite indicators to look at, aside from the price itself and volume, is going to be the MACD. The MACD is a moving average convergence divergence, which takes two different moving averages, creates between them a histogram, which helps us to gauge the momentum of a particular move. So when it comes to observing charts, some fundamental ideas go along the lines of the smaller your candles are, the more detail technically those will have in terms of data. Whereas if you zoom out to larger periods of time like the 3-day or the week, those are going to have much larger tells with regard to where the market might be moving. So there's a lot of mixed signals, I would say, that are emerging out of the market. So if I was to quickly divert your attention to the volume, as you can see where my mouse is, you can see that the volume has really seen its bear market peak just in the midst of that FTX fallout last November. So the past year has been very steady in terms of volume, and we're getting to a place where volume is just nearly finally breaking back over average. So this indicates to me the closer we get to a larger sizable move. So of course, bulls are hoping that we get a bullish move up and out of this range, but of course there are a lot of areas to the downside that stand to be retested, whether that be this consolidation point around 20k, or if you are super bearish, then you might even see a retest of the $15,000 level mark. So whenever I said that we're getting mixed signals, this has a lot to do with the momentum indicators that you can see at the bottom of your screen, both the moving average, as I mentioned, convergence, divergence, as well as the relative strength index. So you can see here that in previous runs, November 2017 as well as April 2021, the relative strength index was flashing green, which means that that's basically a sell signal, because you want to sell into strength, you want to buy into weakness. And here we're towards the middle of the RSI, and the MACD has basically come to a neutral standpoint. So even though I am bullish, the fact is that this is showing signs of weakness. But we have been basking in this kind of area of weakness all year. Nobody has really felt too much air of confidence in the market. And you can see here that the MACD is about to cross bearish. So what will happen? Will we get a huge wash down and retest of some of these prior levels? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I am inclined to believe that this area is supportive. This is the same area that we saw show support back here. And as far as I'm concerned, until we get a true wash down of these levels, I do believe that this area is supportive. It supported us back in June, and all of these different drops down to these levels, these little wicks, these indicate, yes, sell-offs, but they're quickly being bought and leading to even spikes in price. So I really liked what I saw after that final one we saw in the beginning of September, where price quickly rose back up to the 27 mark. So at this point, price looks like it is retesting this whole channel here, where support was, I would say, established. I think that if we were to go down and retest these levels, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I do believe that this is supportive. And at this point, BTFD comes into mind. We might see some quick washouts to these levels. We might even see a lower washout to the $23,000 or $20,000 level mark, as I mentioned down there. But in my opinion, what tends to happen after you see these areas of support established in these sideways channels, especially the fact that it was revisited, and it's showing some bullish growth off of those bounces, that really leads me to believe that we have strong foundation here. And at this point, price is kind of pushing into that area. And in those areas, it becomes very important not to sell. So we might get some quick wicks down to retest the downside, to retest the supply and demand. But this area to me is most definitely a buy zone. The fact that we already pushed high and got even a lower capitulation here, only to go higher, to me this indicates that this whole area is a buy zone and should be considered to add to your position in small amounts. We're just looking in here, and you see this idea of capitulation on smaller levels, these sideways channels that basically are next to zero volatility, and then all of a sudden we get these washouts to the downside. We're going to continue to see bounces and then retests of those areas, but this really stands out to me. That last capitulation that we saw earlier this month quickly bought up and started to progress higher. To me, this is very much a bullish indication of buying and demand to the upside. So I'm seeing here confirmation of this support level, that if that is in fact confirmation, then we should should see growth up and out of this channel very quickly. So I want to go over to the EGLD versus Bitcoin chart, because our precious Multiverse X is a big market indicator for us as well, despite many of the ESDTs going down in price. So the downtrend ever since the bear market took place has been a doozy, but has been presented an incredible opportunity for those of you who are accumulating. And the downtrend looks pretty horrible, but as you can see on the MACD, on the 2-week, we just crossed bullish here. In addition, the RSI Relative Strength Index is basically at the extent, price could always go lower, but we are back to neutral, I would say. This is the idea that price goes crazy, price increases, and it gets rid of people taking profits and also people speculating towards higher prices. So as far as I'm concerned, from the price standpoint, tracing back to consolidation areas from year 2020, the MACD has been completely reset from these absurd levels that we saw at the height of heights whenever the MyR Dex launched. Clearly that was bullish, and clearly we needed to retest some of these levels. The price needed to go down, and here we are. So in my opinion, now is more or less the best time to be accumulating EGLD, as xDay is just on the cusp, and each of these indicators have shown pretty sizable retracements down to levels that can give us confidence to add to our position. So not much more to really say on that, other than the fact that the long-term indicators are really starting to show a lot of, not so much strength, I think it's too early to call it strength, but opportunity to accumulate. The energy that is gathering towards xDay 2023, it's clear that people are paying attention and excited about what's being built. So as far as the market goes, it's anybody's guess, as per usual. But when I look at the market, and whenever I consider what Multiverse X is building and working towards with their xDay, all the names that are going to be present there, I really do believe that buying EGLD at prices this low is extremely profitable. Looking at the USD chart specifically, we see $24 EGLD, and not so much an inverse head and shoulders coming into form quite yet. If that is ever going to be a head and shoulders, I would say that we really need to solidify that right shoulder there. I like what I saw the other day whenever price jumped down from 22 all the way up to about $30, but that had a lot to do with the recovery that Bitcoin had. So EGLD is an opportune time to buy right now. But if you're still worried about Bitcoin, the big dog, kind of going down and retesting those deeper levels, then I think that your classic dollar cost average strategy is always going to be the best. So what do you think? Leave me a reply in the comments. Do you think EGLD is about to explode? Do you think that we're going to see lower levels towards the $10 or $15 mark? Let me know what you think. Let me know what your predictions are. But as far as today's episode goes, season 2 of Multiverse Xperience, episode 2, this is going to be a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. I lost my voice over the past week, so thanks for bearing with me there. And thanks again to Serenation for all of the insightful perspectives you provided in our conversation. Looking forward to continuing to sharing these chats with the Multiverse X community. And as per usual, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know that you are there. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you in episode 3 of the Multiverse Xperience Podcast. Peace.